shout out to Keep Pounding. We're gonna start off the stream with your shout out there. All right. So I don't want to hear you complain. It's the first shout. It's another shout out. You got one on the podcast a couple weeks ago. We shouted out your retirement, and then I saw you putting in that Los Al pick 4. Don't think you're hiding. All right. All of a sudden, Gooch shows up into the Discord, and you're fucking firing away again at Los Al. So, anyways, we're on the wrong lead. On the top left, we got Caleb. In the bottom, in the Marsha spot, we got Mark, and then I am Josh. And we're going to take a look at some of these stakes races coming up here. There's been a lot of movement in the chat, which is very odd for for so much to be said before we even go live. But I did want. There was one interesting point that kind of came up, Mark, and I guess you've touched on this in the Saratoga Daily stuff. But Road Warrior here is posting talking about, they quote unquote put in, and I'm adding the quotes here because I know you hate
the quotes
this.
Are bullshit.
Yeah, because I know you hate this when people say this, but that they put in a whole new surface at Saratoga only for it to be biased one way the first 2 days and another the next 4. Now, I will say, before you say something, Mark, and I could have sworn that you were the one who told me this, but Saratoga is like you gotta watch the bias at Saratoga because it does flip on a dime from day to day. But what do you think about that?
First off, yeah, Saratoga bias will change, and Saratoga bias, just as in any track bias will change. If you get rain, if there's a really hot day, those things do change, and also generally the speed profile of the race. Now, first off, the Saratoga surface for about the past, 40 years has been the same exact blend of surface that they run at both Aqueduct on the regular track, not the winter track at Aqueduct, and at the Belmont track. It's the same blend. They run the same at all 3. All they did at Saratoga this year was the same thing they do every year. They go into the grader, they completely turn the surface over, and then they cut down the crown on the surface so that they make sure that, if you had a lot of rain, there's a natural little bit of a tilt towards the inside of the surface. They take and they smooth that out. They get rid of any crown, they get rid of any wells, and they do that about once a year. That's normal maintenance. So Bruno making a big deal that, they completely replaced the surface is complete bullshit, and it's all hype. It's absolutely idiotic, and it's disingenuous for people in the business who know better to say stupid crap like that. Also, the idea that right now this surface is some sort of massively biased and horrible to play is insane. There have not been a horse that's come from 30 lengths back to win a race, but there was that 5 horse in one of the earlier races today that closed from about 10 back and got up for second. There is, if you have proper pace setups, horses can close, but all North American racing is inherently front-end biased. E and EP types win the vast majority of races. So to say that the surface is unfair is completely just a stupid statement. And, horse racing Twitter is all a buzz that the surface is super biased and it's unplayable and you can't do anything with it. It's just asinine and it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, Mark getting fired up.
I know he's getting real fired up. Road Warrior says jocks are lucky that Gary's not riding. He takes so much advantage of it. I'm guessing he's talking about Canadian great Gary Boulanger, right?
Yeah, Gary Boulanger would be wonderful here. Gary Stevens, who's a moron, would not be able to ride on this surface, though.
Yeah, jockeys tend to make the worst analysts, it seems, or the worst handicappers.
Yeah, some of the things he said, like I remember Gary Stevens on with Andy Serling, and Gary's trying to convince Andy last year that there was, the rail was fine and there wasn't an outside bias. And Andy's like, "Are you nuts, dude?" I remember watching that live and being like, how can somebody who is a major announcer, a major commentary, national TV, not understand the basis of a bias?
I believe we did have a former, or he's still in Discord, but he said, "I'm a professional jockey, and I don't know that the rail's bad, right?"
The legend of Papo, Paul Arnold.
Oh man. Well, I know, Mark, you've had a pretty good past couple days, mostly playing exactas apparently. How did you do today? I was kind of in and out with work, so I didn't get a chance to see how today went.
Yeah, I had a pretty good day. I was up, up a pretty nice amount. Pretty good day. I think honestly today was really kind of chalky when you get right down to it. I know Caleb had, it was having a hard time sort of getting his head around some of how the track was playing, but I found it to be pretty formful. I didn't find it to be sort of, massive horses you need to fade or some real play against types that were firing. So I thought it was pretty approachable, and I had a really good day.
Caleb, how'd you do? Did you just play that tourney today?
I jumped in a tournament for quick action and then just took, I played like a late double in pick 3 because I liked a couple of prices, and I think it was the 2 races before the feature race. I think there was it was the turf sprint and the one that came before that. I forget which races they were. I liked a couple prices. Mark and I were on the same price with the 12 horse with Manny Franco up. The race Bertranda won the 10. So yeah, like looking back, like the horses that won, except for probably the 3 horse in the future, they all sort of figured. I think they were all fairly logical winners. It was just kind of one of those instances where I really found a price I thought would run well, and maybe not the favorite wins every time, but it's like for top 2 or 3 choices, we're winning the overwhelming amount of races. Just one of those days. Like I trusted the Chad Brown in race 6. The horse didn't really run. I tried to beat the Chad Brown in the turf sprint, and that might be a hell of a racehorse, because against the bias and with some crazy fractions, that horse just ran away from that field. So that might be one to watch. But yeah, just not I didn't play much, so I didn't really lose much, but just not a very productive day for me.
I did okay at Arlington and did shit at Saratoga. That's kind of how my day went. So I had I know Chase was a little upset at a couple of close calls he had, and I don't think I was even close. I think the only real winner I had was that 3 horse in might have been the second to last or third to last race. That Mike Maker and Irad horse. Other than that, that was the second to last race. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But other than that, dude, I think I was just like, it was not good.
I was just to answer Road Warrior's question, or sort of where he was going here. Aqueduct's a 1 mile track on the main. Belmont's a mile and 3/16 on the main, and Saratoga is a mile and an eighth track on the main. So from finish line to finish line. So you run into the thing that a track like Saratoga plays very different naturally to a track like Aqueduct. Commonly run distance like a mile. At Belmont, a mile is a 1-turn race. At Saratoga, they can't run a mile because a mile would actually be on the start of the first corner, and in someplace like Aqueduct, it's the start-finish line. So different tracks, because of the layouts, are going to have different general play styles that are going to play to. I thought was it a mile and a half start line to start line, or is it? I thought there was a little bit of overlap when they run a mile and a half at Belmont Road.
I know a mile and a quarter is still like 1.5 turns because they kind of start in the turn. So it might be a full mile and a half for finish line to finish line. I don't know. It's somewhere between a mile and a quarter and a mile and a half.
Yeah, either way. I guess what I was going for is different tracks, different layouts, different corner structures, and those tend to produce different run styles and different sort of track setups.
Apparently, I'm very upset that I'm not playing Giancarlo Stanton in daily fantasy today, because someone commented he's having a really great game already. So there goes my buy-in today. Anyways, why don't we take a look at the quick call for tomorrow? I don't know. Did you guys cover this on the Daily Show?
We did not.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not doing double here. So let me let's switch over to our normal view here. We make Caleb much smaller, so maybe it makes us better looking. Mark. So we got the quick call, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. We got a pretty heavy favorite in Jack and Noah here, even money. And then I think we have another 2-1 shot on the outside, turn to side, Linda and Jose combo here. Mark, how did you see this one?
Yeah, so Jack and Noah is obviously this race sort of begins and ends with that conversation about that horse. He's sort of been class of this sort of division, kind of the that 3-year-old sprint turf division. And quite honestly, he's a horse you have to at least consider in here. But I really want to go elsewhere. If you've been watching how the turf has been playing, you have not wanted to be on the lead, and he's going to be on the lead or right about there. I don't know if High Cruise will necessarily take to the turf, but I think, but Jack and Noah is going to be, of the turfers in here, he's your speed. And I really want to fade him, and I'm not going to hard fade him, but I would make him kind of a B type in here. The horses that I really want to get behind and obviously let's go back to Jack and Noah's last race, the Sir Cat at Belmont, where he rallied. He held off on against some of these on a very, very, very speed favoring turf course. So all of a sudden he's going from a very, very, very speed favoring Belmont turf course to Saratoga, which is very unfavorable to speed. He's going to be very short priced here. He's the kind of horse that I want to get around if I'm playing any sort of sequence. The ones that make the most sense to get around him with are would be the 4 Old Chestnut. You're getting Junior Alvarado, who's been riding lights out on the turf. He's been riding great. For Cassie, don't necessarily love Cassie in New York, but this horse has the right run style. She'll be able to set the right trip off that speed and get some of the, have some pace to fire into. And the other horse in here that was really interesting to me was Turned Aside, the 8, the Linda Rice horse. A horse that was just barely beaten by Jack and Noah, couldn't quite get there at Belmont. I'm hoping that Lascano is a little smart, takes this horse a little bit more back, a little bit more off that pace, and kind of makes that one run here. Those were the 2 that I really liked, and I think if you can get around Jack and Noah here, this sequence that these races are contained within pays pretty well.
How do you see it, Caleb?
Yeah, it's more fun when we argue, but I think unfortunately I see it the identical way that Mark sees this one. I've never thought Jack and Noah was that good. I felt that horse has gotten a lot of favorable setups where. Like there was a race not that long ago. I think it might have been the Churchill Sprint where there was another main speed that just totally missed the break and he got out there loose by himself. Like last race, he caught a speed-friendly track and he keeps winning. So I guess my options are either to admit I'm wrong about this horse or to keep betting against him. And well, I'm going to keep betting against him. So he might win. We saw the Chad Brown horse wired turf sprint today, but I think that horse just is graded stakes bound and much the best in that field. I don't know that Jack and Noah is quite good enough to beat this field being against the bias. There is other speed, although he certainly is the speed of the speed here. But yeah, the 2 horses I'm going to look to beat him with would be the same that Mark already mentioned. I think that the 8 horse Turned Aside is the logical contender to pull the upset. Was beaten by Jack and Noah by a length last time, but that was his first start in about 6 or 7 months. Looks like this horse has been working well. Linda does excellent second off the layoff. I assume Linda's going to scratch the 7 Power Up Painter, but in the event that she doesn't, Lascano clearly had choice and ends up on the 8 here. I think that horse was beat by Jack and Noah 3 times now, so has to sort of find the way to turn the tables on that one. But I think that's the one I'd probably use most prominently, with the other being the 4 Old Chestnut. In the event that the 1, the 2, the 7 all end up, the 1, the 2, and the 8 all end up going fast on the front end, and maybe throw the 5 in the mix. I think the 4 is like the quote unquote closer that you want here. And it's not a closer I feel great about using. Mark Cassie has not really had a great start to the Saratoga meet. I don't think he has a win. I think he only has like 1 in the money finish for that matter. So that's part of the reason why I'm fading Jack and Noah, but also doesn't get me super excited about Old Chestnut either. But if someone's going to come from off the pace, there just really isn't a very enticing closer in this field. And if I had to pick one, it would probably be Old Chestnut.
So yeah. I'm making my faces over here because I'm just like, and I'm even so excited to say all this because I wanted to cut Mark off. There are 3 horses in here I like that you guys have not named. So obviously it's probably the horses that are going to finish last, second to last, and third to last. Yeah, if the 7 doesn't scratch, I'm going to be using the 7 here. Reason being is that when Linda does this and brings a horse back on short rest, she's 44%. And she's only doing this if she knows exactly what she's doing. So I read a board. He knows the bias. Case in point, that race that that second to last race, that 3-horse was a speed horse, and Irad was smart enough to rate the horse and sit just off because he knew that speed wasn't holding, and made that winning move. So Irad's seeing the ball real well. Won 5 times today. So I'll go back to that well, especially if this is going to be the longest price on the board, which it should be close to, if not the longest price on the board, and hopefully. All those people that got fooled by those Facebook ads for Power Up Painter, like I almost did by my racehorse, get paid off here. The other horse that I'm a little interested in is going to be the 1 High Cruise, and I know we're looking at a maiden who broke its maiden at Thistledown and is coming here. But I really like the work pattern that this horse had. Has been working on the turf here, and threw a bullet last out. So real interested. I mean, they Triple Crown nominated this horse for some reason. So maybe Jack Sisterton thinks he's got something here. I don't know. I'm not thrilled with Dylan Davis on the turf getting the board. But it's a homebred by Calumet Farm. So there's something to like there. At least pace figure wise, it does seem to match up a little bit with Jack and Noah, in particular in the late pace. So a move forward here actually, I think puts High Cruise in the mix there a little bit. And then there was another horse. So I was going to start this conversation by asking you a question, Mark, because I wanted you to look something up in Formulator. But what's Doug O'Neill's track record shipping into Saratoga?
It'll take me a second to pull it up.
I'm very interested.
But 20% Saratoga trainer from 20 starts. So
I'm very interested in seeing why 4 Left is in this race. 4 Left is one that won a pretty big race over in Dubai, and has had once ran in the Belmont and didn't, was entered in the Belmont, didn't really run, but this is a Twirling Candy, and Twirling Candy's sprinting on the turf is usually, I mean, that's what they do. So I'm very interested to see. I mean, Doug O'Neill is a turf sprint specialist, so let's see what 4 Left might do here. Gets Jose aboard, who's also been pretty hot. So those are kind of 3 alternatives to trying to take the chalk. I haven't looked at any of the rest of the card, but if I had a pretty chalky pick in the 8th race or in the finale here, I would probably try and get a little what's this word I'm looking for, Mark? What's the word I'm looking for? A little cute. There we go. A little cute here, and try and get live to the 1, the 5, and the 7. Notice I did leave off Chase's favorite horse, the 3 Flapjack. I think has no hope here, Chase. I'm sorry if you're still in chat.
Yeah, I will. To add on to what Josh did say, if you're a speed figs kind of person, which I am, Jack and Noah does not tower over this field in any way, shape, or form. He's got a little bit of an advantage. He's that Sir Cat was, I think, the fastest in Bayer terms, fastest race in this. But somebody like High Cruise has every chance to be run well on the turf. And quite honestly, when you look down through this field, you go, okay, there's no standout monsters here. This is the type of race where you have a favorite who's going to be very short and it's going to take a ton of money, and a lot of people are going to try to single through, who I don't think is that crazy high of a chance of winning this race. I mean, okay, maybe even if he wins this race half the time, I think you can buy the rest of the field and you're going to get much outpaid in a pick 3 or pick 4 type structure if you get around him. So what Josh is doing, fishing for some prices, or even though the ones I was going after, I wouldn't fault anybody for buying this at all.
I have to admit, I agree with Mark's perspective about buying the race, because I do think that Jack and Noah is very vulnerable here, and you don't want to have him lose and then not have the horse that beats him if you're going to get around him in a short field like this anyway. I have to, Josh kind of made me take note when he was talking about High Cruise, the 1. I'm looking at this horse and I'm thinking, like, why is this horse here? Like it doesn't make sense. And then I kind of looked down and noticed that Jack Sisterson actually has 2 in, both Calumet Farm homebreds, the 1 and the 3. I would probably have to be more interested in the 3, who at least has a decent race over the turf, and then a stakes, a non-graded stakes win over the synthetic surface at Arlington. Is probably bred a little better for the surface. And Gaffleone, who has ridden the 1 in the past, actually ends up on the 3 Flapjack. So I know that Chase was on Flapjack before, and if you're a Sheets player, I do think this horse takes a step forward next time. He kind of ran a big top in his first start at 3, kind of bounced real bad, going way too far in the slop. He's been circling back and just kind of repeated that previous top. If he takes to the turf, which I think that he might, he could run a big race here, and he would need to win. But I think it's not totally impossible. The more I look at this race, the more I do think it's open. And even Josh's picks, who I didn't really talk about, I could very well see pulling off an upset. So yeah, it's an interesting race. A lot of odd connection plays here, similar to we talked about earlier, is why are horses here where they are.
Yeah, and I would say to add to that, Jose Ortiz, who's one of the top couple of jocks at Saratoga, ends up on 4 left, who's a bit of a price. When and Josh mentioned it, and I kind of went back and re-looked at the horse. And they've never really tried this horse on the turf sprinting. Has the pedigree that says that this horse should love the turf and also love sprinting. So I'm kind of taking a second look at this one, going, that's a horse I think I need to add.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like Redham Racing is known for kind of throwing their horses to the wolves and spotting in places that don't make a ton of sense, like Parsimony, for example.
Or like in the Belmont Stakes, where this horse.
Yeah. So look at that Belmont Stakes, and it's like, why? It really is the question. But then, I don't know, the fact that they kept him in New York, maybe they were thinking turf at Saratoga all along, and that was just a place to run for a huge purse.
Or they're thinking fourth. Or they're thinking Saudi bounce. We need a race back. Let's take a shot, and we really want to focus on moving it to Saratoga and getting on the turf. And we need that prep for the bounce race or whatever you want to refer to it as. Which obviously that's the Dubai bounce right there.
I mean, maybe they thought that they could still collect a check. I mean, Belmont did not exactly come up, super strong. So, getting 4th and picking up a check for a work, especially like you said, coming from that Dubai bounce, because it does seem like I think 4 left does his best running at a mile and shorter. So. Probably 1 turn mile, 7 furlong. So this distance might be a bit sharp, but I definitely could see. I mean, it's Twirling Candy. I could definitely see this, running 6.5, 7 furlongs on the turf, and that kind of being its thing.
Yeah, I don't think the distance is too sharp for him. I just think Jack and Noah is the fastest horse in this field, and I struggle to see a pace scenario that 4 left rates and passes. And also, I struggle to see a scenario that he makes the lead over Jack and Noah. But if there's 2 wouldn't break for some reason, or they try to rate that horse or whatever else, I guess I could see it. But
so we sufficiently beat the 8-horse race to death.
Yeah, and apparently Chase has never liked Flapjack, but I swear to God, we've had the Flapjack conversation.
I feel like he liked him in 1 race, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Sir Rick.
I don't know, dude. I think he liked Flapjack in the Matt win. Dude, you liked Flapjack, dude. You were all over Flapjack.
You liked it. He's just trying to,
You liked it. You liked it.
I liked him in the Thistledown Allowance race.
Why don't we take a look at the Boston spot?
So wait a second, Caleb. You're playing Thistledown? Really?
No, I'm just.
Hey, that might have been Ohio Derby Day. Maybe you were keeping an eye on that for that. No. Let's take a look at the Boston Spot, or what did I call this? The town I think John Clendon lives in stakes, because I know he lives in one of these towns.
He lives in the other direction though. He lives north. This is southwest of Saratoga.
Don't tell me. I'm just gonna keep assuming that the stakes race named after a town is where he lives.
You realize half of the stakes races at Saratoga.
Yeah, I know. This is gonna get really annoying.
Yeah,
I know.
Like Lake George and the Saranac Lake, and there's the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, Lake George is north. He lives in Lake George. No, that's too bougie for him.
He's just a little too bougie for John. Yeah. He's also not named John. But
yeah, I know that was the craziest thing. So we got 6 horses signed up for this. I believe Caleb, you might have just called this race straight doo doo. I'm not sure. You were not impressed with this race. I wasn't either. I thought that this came up pretty light. And it's technically there's an MTO, so it's gonna be 5 horses. And with the way the track's been playing, I mean, if Sister Charlie loses, they probably should just turn her out. I mean, against this field, there's like absolutely no reason Sister Charlie should lose. What do you think? What do you think, Mark?
I think the race begins and ends with your conversation about Sister Charlie. She's 10 of 15 lifetime. Trip hits her right between the eyes. She's 1 for 1 at the distance. She's 2 for 2 at Saratoga. This Chip Braun character trained. She has every reason to suck this up. That this should be a fairly easy. She's also happened to be the champion turf female of 2018. This should be a fairly easy romp for her. I do like Starship Jubilee in here a little bit, who I think sits a very similar sort of trip to Sister Charlie, except for it's probably a little more forwardly placed. And Sister Charlie is going to probably have to hunt her down in the stretch. If Sister Charlie brings her A game, yeah, she dominates this. But we're talking a 9-month layoff or something. There's a chance she could come into this a little flat and, maybe not bring her A game. And I think Starship Jubilee on her best day can match Sister Charlie's B game. So I don't think it's as binary as people want to make it. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to have 90% of your money going through Sister Charlie here because she's the most likely winner by quite a bit.
Yeah, this race sucks. Nothing that excites me about this race. And I get so annoyed with New York Racing Association with allowing shit like you have the best female turf horse probably in the country, not in the world, but with Sister Charlie, it's a 5-horse field. You don't fucking need a rabbit. North Broadway has no business to be in this race. It's the same ownership group. It's the same trainer. This horse got beat at Monmouth and Gulfstream in a maiden and non-winners of 1 allowance. This horse has no business to be here except to replicate Tice's job from last year. And Sister Charlie is the best horse. You don't need that. And it annoys me even more that they're uncoupled entries and that Naira doesn't force that to be a coupled entry. It's just a side gripe, but nevertheless, Sister Charlie shouldn't lose this race. If you want to make a case against her Flower Bowl back at Belmont really wasn't that impressive. She was kind of asked to get there that day, and that was with her rabbit Tice in the race, who actually almost stole it. And she regressed big time on buyers, and then in the Breeders' Cup, she actually was beaten as a heavy favorite. And we haven't seen her since then. She's now 6 years old, and while this isn't exactly a Breeders' Cup field, there's an argument to be made that maybe she's tailing off a little bit and she's getting up there a little bit in age. I don't know if I buy that, but she's going to be a single A as she should be. But if you really wanted to build a case against her, that's probably the only argument I could see. I do think Starship Jubilee is the obvious second choice. I hope Castellano keeps her further back. She does have the ability to be on the lead if she wants it. But I hope that he doesn't, because that has not been where you want to be on this Saratoga turf. And then the only other horse you could even consider would be the 1, Call Me Love. Hard for me to explain her last race, though. Her race 2 back in the Boguet was actually a really nice effort where she ran a big figure, was beaten 2 lengths by Call Me Love, or by Rushing Fall, who's an amazing turf miler right now. But then the New York is just a 6-5 short priced horse. She didn't do much running that day. Now, I don't think anyone was beating Mean Mary on a loose lead with a slow pace, but it's kind of disappointing that she not only didn't win, but she faded to 4th and lost a lot of ground and got passed by a couple others who I don't think are all that good. You can't really say the distance is the issue because she has 2 wins in Italy at this distance, and her last 2 races before she came over. So I don't know, but with the rate that Clemente and Rosario have been winning lately, you're really playing with fire to leave them off any ticket. But yeah, I think Sister Charlie wins this race 9 times out of 10. I think she'll be 1-9 or 1-5. Maybe 2-5. Starship Jubilee will also take money. This is one of those terrible races, though, where you're probably going to see 2 horses that are odds on, and there's still 3 ways you could potentially lose. So it's not a fun race.
Yeah, Call Me Love. I mean, they let Mean Mary get away with a 51-second half. Like, now, funny thing is, if they let Mean Mary get away with a 51-second half at Saratoga the way it's playing, she might not win. But at Belmont, you sure as hell know she was going to win. So I think you can probably draw a line through that last race. I kind of agree with you, Caleb. I completely I kind of glossed over this race because I saw Sister Charlie in it. But yeah, Clement Rosario, like they've been lights out so far in the meet. So with the way the turf is playing, I mean that plays exactly into Rosario's strength. But at the same time, that's exactly how that's exactly the type of run that Sister Charlie's going to want to take. So I mean, I guess you could AC this, but I have a hard time getting around Sister Charlie. One thing I do want to note about North Broadway is $750,000 is sure a hell of a lot of money to spend for a rabbit, huh? Like that's a fucking expensive ass rabbit. That's just like
Yeah, this North Broadway's 30-1 on the morning line. It should be 30-1 on the morning line. Completely agree with it. This is also one of those horses that you're gonna feel really freaking stupid if you didn't add the pricey the 30-1 Chad Brown with T-Gaff up to your ticket, and somehow this horse steals it. I would assume this is a rabbit for Sister Charlie. They found another rabbit who it's Peter Brandt owned, so it's the same ownership. And I mean, Peter Brandt's got money. He can whatever burn if he wants to, but you're going to feel really stupid if you didn't somehow have this on your ticket in some way, shape, or form here.
I'm actually kind of interested in why Chad doesn't do the Aidan O'Brien thing. I mean, he does he does the same fucking thing Aidan O'Brien does in wherever, Ireland, the UK, whatever. Enters like 7 horses and like 4 of them all have a chance to win. And it's like one of them goes out to the front, but is a front runner that can win on the front. And then you got the deep closer that can win. And then you got the mid-pack horse that can win. So, like, it's interesting to me that, like, Peter Brandt doesn't have, like, a legit, like, horse that wants to get on the lead. Like, give himself 2 shots to try and win this thing.
You're saying he doesn't do that, but I think he often does. I mean, Caleb made the case that Thace almost won that race last year, and Mississippi got up for second. But, I think Thace's only way to win was to go to the lead and try to steal it. Is it a case that Chad, I understand that logic of, oh, he's using this horse to set that horse up, because that's what it appears on paper. But if you have a barn that's that loaded, maybe you're just dropping 2 or 3 in here and saying, hey, whoever's best on that day wins, and I don't really care.
Yeah, that happens. Like we've seen that with like significant form being entered in a race with
Rushing Fall had that happen. Rushing
Fall. But this is a horse who only has a maiden win and got beat at a non-winners of 1 allowance. Like I think to me it's fairly obvious why this horse is here.
Well, there's also another argument to me meant that Peter Brandt may have said, hey, it's a 6-horse field. One's an MTO. There's going to be 5 horses here. If I finish stuck up and get third, I get a black type. And that makes this filly worth a boatload more because she's all of a sudden, stakes placed.
Yeah, that's probably fair too. Hell, if all she has to, like the 2 looks like the 3 can probably beat the 2.
3 can beat the 2. She's got to
find only need Starship Jubilee or the 1 to not fire their best race. And all of a sudden, you're collecting a decent chunk of purse money.
And also, all of a sudden, you can now breed her to whoever and sell her at the Keeneland Select sale, and she's goes for $1 million if you breed her to a Tappet or something. That there's a lot of money to be said. It's she's all of a sudden a stakes placed horse, and in full to whoever the hot sire is, and she's worth a lot of money because she's got a very nice pedigree.
So I'm really disappointed because I went ahead and I didn't look at the Vanderbilt ahead of time. I'd only seen the entries or like the nominations. They only drew 5 horses for this race.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better 5-horse races you'll ever see, but it's a little sad that this is only a 5-horse race this year.
Yeah, I saw like Promises Fulfilled was entered or nominated, and there were a couple other. There was at least 1 or 2 other like legit like probably like grade 3, grade 2 level sprinters that were out there, that I thought probably could have rounded out this field. So it's actually kind of disappointing. I didn't realize they only drew 5 for this. I mean, they did draw probably the 5 strongest, with the exception of maybe Promises Fulfilled, which maybe there's a problem. I don't know. I know Promises Fulfilled's coming off a long layoff here, but Caleb, have you done your research to figure out who Volatile is yet, or are you still?
Yeah,
still
so
in,
I looked at this up and I was like, Volatile, how is this horse who is this horse and why is he 4 to 5? Apparently he's pretty good. Truth be told, I don't really follow the Kentucky circuit that much. And I definitely don't follow Ellis Park. So yeah, I really hadn't heard of this horse prior to today. Yeah, that being said, like, I'm not going to bet him at 4 to 5. I still think he has a ton to prove against a field like this. You know, winning a listed stakes at Churchill against Honest Mischief. Like, okay, you beat him by 8 lengths, but like that horse came back to do nothing today. He ran second, beaten 5 lengths against a fairly soft allowance field. The speed figs are huge, and maybe this is Asmussen's next Matoli. There's actually also a fairly likely chance that despite not really breaking on top in any of his career starts, that this horse could be out there by himself on the lead. I haven't seen a horse wire a dirt race probably in a week. So all the hubbub on Twitter about the dirt is biased and you can't make up ground, like typically you don't make up 10 or 15 lengths in dirt racing. So kind of to Mark's point earlier, I don't think it's a bias that's favoring front runners. If anything, I thought the rail looked a little bit good, but I don't think there's any speed bias. If anything, I think it's been hard to wire the Saratoga main track and especially the turf, but even the main track I think has been difficult. So yeah, Volatile, like I'm not going to say I'm not going to use him at all. Like if he runs either of his last 2 races again, he probably wins by as many as he wants. But I'm just not sure that he can really repeat either of those 2 efforts against Grade 6 company. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, to back up what Jonathan Kitchen mentioned today on the stream, most sprint races are won from the front end. Or just off the pace. You don't win sprint races normally by coming from 10 lengths off. And there have not been a lot of route races at Saratoga, and those route races have seemed to be a little closer favoring. So I think the whole Twitter sphere blowing up about this track being super biased and blah blah blah. It's insane. Yeah, I think Volatile makes a lot of sense in here. I mean, my really question, who's he sort of beat? Santana has been as cold gets so far this Saratoga meet. He's 0 for 16 at the moment. And okay, he won 3 races in 3 no-name nothing races by a ton of lengths. And who did he beat? The Maniwas of the world. I mean, that's not super impressive.
It's another chase horse, FYI.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that one. Of the, there were other ones I could mention. Maniwa was the most logical because we know Chase is a massive Maniwa fan. I think. Chase and I both are massive Whitmore fans. I think he's really up against it here. I would love to see him get another one, but I think I don't know if this is necessarily the spot that sets up best for Whitmore, just on a pace dynamics. I know I've heard a lot of people talking Freeze and Fire. I think he's super logical in here. I wouldn't have a problem using him at all. Albeit I don't know. I don't know if he necessarily needs the lead or needs to be just off it to win. That's not really how we've been winning here. And honestly, the horse I kind of end up on is Mind Control. I think he's the horse that, with how the track is playing, he's outside drawn. Johnny Velasquez up, who's great at reading a bias and also great at sort of getting his horses in those right spots. He can set off, some of the volatile speed and some of the other horses that, Freeze and Fire, who want to be a little more forwardly placed and sort of get that similar probably trip to Whitmore. Outside drawn should be able to keep the horse out of trouble. Speed's all inside. Johnny can sort of watch and pounce. And Johnny V has been really, really good on this horse. You're getting a bit of a price, and I really, really, really like him here. And I think this, obviously it's a 5-horse race, but you can kind of make a case for 5 horses in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone, the longest price is definitely going to be Lexingtonian. I think that the distance is probably going to be a little sharp for Lexingtonian, but yeah, I think Whitmore's going to be too far back. I think volatile makes sense as the leader here, to get out, get out early and grab the lead. I think Whitmore's probably going to be too far back, and like you said, is going to be up against it a little bit. I'm going to look at the two other outside horses. I'm probably going to be mostly through Frenzy Fire and Mind Control here. Mind Control, I think, makes the most sense. 2 for 2 at the distance. Has run his best figs at this distance. And Johnny V knows Saratoga. Santana's been cold. I think it makes sense, like you said, for Mind Control, and Frenzy Fire makes a ton of sense here too. There was a little bit of question after leaving the service barn, and then ran that kind of clunker at the Carter, and then you're like, oh, look what happened, and then came back and won the True North. So maybe Frenzy Fire is back, although Frenzy Fire does love Belmont. So
yeah, Frenzy Fire is 1 for 5 at Saratoga, and he is a freak at Belmont, but doesn't seem to like when he has to go 3 hours north. Complete opposite of that, and you're getting a much better price. Mind Control happens to be 2 for 2 at Saratoga, and he's won 2 G1s. So he apparently loves the spot. I think Mind Control probably suffers from that fact of he's a little underrated. He's not a hype horse. He's not out of a hype barn. And he doesn't have that triple-digit buyer score that people tend to look for in these types of races, which a bunch of the other in here do. When I look at Volatile, he's 4 to 5 on the morning line. He screams bounce. I realize that's apparently not a thing anymore, but to me, he looks like a horse that, jumps up 11 points on buyer's figs. I don't expect him to be able to back that up. He's got the Asmussen barn. Maybe he can, but there's enough things in here against him that I sort of want to try to get around him. And I think Mind Control is the way I want to go. Josh and I are in agreement. And I think Caleb likes a horse as well.
Caleb just loves Mind Control. Mind Control is like his favorite horse.
I've actually been a big Mind Control fan for a long time. I just think he's a nice horse. Like, I really respect what the Connections did with that horse. They tried him in the Gotham and got a little bit of Derby fever, and then they decided you know what, we don't have a Derby horse here, and they cut him back to sprint, and that was by far the right thing to do for the horse. He clearly doesn't want to go 1.25 miles, and instead of seeing him be forced to make a race he has no chance in and then disappear for the rest of the year, he rewarded their decision to do that by banking $1 million. So that's great. I love that story. I like Mind Control. So the fan of me will be rooting for him here. I do have to say, I'm probably I don't know if I'm going to play or how I'm going to play, but I'll probably buy this race. I think Volatile probably bounces. Now he can bounce and still win, but I think he bounces. And Lexingtonian's probably the hardest horse to make a case for in this field, and I wouldn't discount him. And if I can get to him, I think that that first start off the long layoff at Oaklawn was terrible, but he came back and ran a nice race at Churchill. Now makes his third start off the layoff. Jack Sisterson once again. Calumet Farm homebred. This horse makes some sense here. He's in the deep end of the pool for sure, but I could definitely see the case for him as a C. So I think I'll probably buy this race. And I also don't know that we're probably giving Whitmore enough credit. I love Whitmore. His last 2 races, his last 3 races, he was within 1.5 lengths at the second call. He hasn't been displaying this dead closer tendency of the past. And he's been showing a little more tactical speed. And I do think that the fact that there are no speed balls in this race, there isn't a ton of speed signed on. While you may think that disadvantages a horse like Whitmore, I think in this instance it might actually play to his favor, because unless Volatile just gets stupid out there and goes 21, 43 and 2 or something just ridiculous, Whitmore shouldn't be that far off the pace. And if Whitmore is within 1 length or 2 of the pace turning for home, I have to say I like his chances. Rosario's been riding great. My biggest knock on Whitmore is just that he'll be overbet. He's going to be the second choice, and he's probably not my second choice. But I definitely wouldn't discount him in a spot like this, just based off of the pace setup.
Yeah, I'm sitting here reading chat, and Road Warrior was sort of asking what the pace setup was. I tend to agree pretty much with what Dennis is sort of saying here. I think you end up with a situation where Volatile probably is the speed of the speed in here, and Frenzy Fire probably sits just off that in second. And then I think, Whitmore, I agree, has been showing more speed of late, so you sort of end up with that. Lexingtonian could potentially go, but I have a feeling they don't here. I have a feeling they maybe sit third. And so sort of Lexingtonian, Whitmore, and so Lexingtonian and Whitmore sort of up close. And then I think probably Mind Control sits the furthest back of anyone. That's kind of how I see it in my head. I don't think there's I don't think this is going to be a, front to back that's 6 or 8 lengths apart. I think these are going to be kind of throw a blanket over it sort of pace setup, and everybody's going to try to, take off at the top of the stretch. Now, if Volatile can get loose, maybe he's a little more dangerous. Obviously, he's 4 to 5 on the morning line. He's not a horse you can, toss, but I want to get around him here, and I think he's vulnerable facing some legit horses for the first time.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if I think 3 or 4 lengths will cover the field. I don't think you'll see a runaway leader or a pace duel, but I don't think you'll see a strung out field, and they'll go slow enough up front that everyone will be close. And I guess we'll just see if Volatile's for real or not. But if I'm singling Volatile, I'd rather see him speed it up and be 3 lengths clear rather than slow it down so much that he only has a half length cushion turning for home.
Yeah, my real concern is here. I think Whitmore is going to find cover, and Chase and I talked about this earlier when we were chit-chatting back and forth. Whitmore is one of those horses that I think he really has that one big, long, prolonged run, and I'm really concerned that he's going to get a little bottled up, and Rosario is going to kind of run him down the 3, 4, 5 path down the middle of the track, and not really be able to get him clear, and he's going to, Rosario has a tendency to get a little handsy and a little cute, and that's my biggest concern with Whitmore. Although he's, if you look at his pedigree, if you look at the races he's won, he's legitimate, and he's a very classy player in here.
It's funny because Rosario sounds like he's got the same reputation that you do there, Mark. Getting a little handsy.
Just a little handsy?
Yeah,
okay.
A little handsy. And when you construct your tickets, a little cute.
Little cute, yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get a little cute. I haven't been cute the last 2 days though. I've been doing okay. But
let's move on to Caleb's salvation, hopefully, for the past couple weeks. And Del Mar returning from a week off due to COVID. Looks like they're starting back up tomorrow, right?
Yeah, they are. So, and they're also running Monday to make up for the canceled races over last week. So 4 days.
Nice. We got 2 grade 2s on Saturday. We got the San Clemente and we got the San Diego. Why don't we start with the San Clemente here? We got a mile on the turf, and we got a field of 11 here signed up. So this is going to be the first race I think we look at that's got double-digit horses here. So I mean that 5 horse.
Ironic to have to come to California to get a full field for a stakes race.
That's fucking crazy. So Caleb, why don't you take the lead on this one?
Yeah, so I'm excited for Del Mar. Del Mar has played very logically, but there's been some huge payoffs lately. Well, not lately, but opening weekend, which was really nice. So this is a tough race. You have a full field of 11 horses. A lot of them are trying something new, whether it's a route or turf. I find 3-year-old fillies races are just always tough to handicap anyway, just from a consistency standpoint. So I really think that the favorite in this race is probably where the conversation starts. And I do think that she's a deserving favorite, which is the 3, Laura's Light. She really hasn't done much wrong in her career. She's 4 wins from 6 starts. 3 for 4 over the turf. She's got wins up to 1 mile and 1/8 and as short as 5.5 furlongs, both in grade 3 stakes. So she's proven at the distances. She's proven at the class level. She has a versatile running style where she can stalk the pace, but she can be forwardly placed. I would not expect to see her on the lead here, especially with her stablemate, the One. She's So Special on the stretch out, and a few others in here that have shown some pretty serious early gas. I don't think Laura's Light makes the lead. I don't think she wants to make the lead. Historically, Del Mar's turf is hard to go gate to wire. Opening weekend, we did see a number of fast paces that were actually won in gate to wire fashion. So it'll be interesting to see kind of if that trend continues or how that plays out this week here. But I do think Laura's Light is probably the horse to beat. If I was going to look to go a little bit deeper than that, the other horses that I've kind of liked was the 5, 6, and 9. So just real briefly, I guess I thought the 5 Crow Evoke. This is kind of a horse that at some point you got to get there. Has a lot of in the money finishes, but hasn't won since her maiden breaker over back in Ireland a year ago. I think this is the race where there should be a lot of speed. You get Rispoli on board, who is probably one of the top turf riders in the country. I think that I get it if you're a little gun shy. She has burned some money. But I do think that she does make sense here. The 6 was another one I thought was interesting. Like I said, I think there's a lot of speed, but this is going to be your leader, I think, coming out of those Gulfstream races. It just feels like a curious placement for this horse to ship from Gulfstream all the way out to California and then to get Victor Espinoza to ride, who's typically one of the leading jocks here. I have to feel like this horse is at least sent here for a reason and has some numbers that do fit in this field, if maybe a little bit light. But in the event that the speeds decide to rate or the track continues to be speed friendly, I do think the 6 kind of makes some sense. And then the 9 is the last one. She's another who's sort of does no wrong. 4 for 6 at the turf. She has a win over the dirt. I do kind of question the class a little bit. Most of those wins came against some state bred company for Calbreds, but she did win the Surfer Girl back in October of last year. She also won the China Doll, which were both listed stakes, but open company. She probably gets the right trip, kind of sitting mid pack. I just don't quite know that she's good enough to really step up to graded stakes company. But those are kind of the 3 or 4 horses I'm going to be using the most. But I think this is a tough race where you can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not a big Del Mar guy. I don't play Del Mar a lot, but from what I remember from my sort of notes on Del Mar, especially on the turf, you want to sort of be outside drawn and be speed. And it gives you a lot of tactical advantages and really allows you to be positional. And to me, the 6, that just hits her right square between the eyes. I think she's the speed of the speed in here. On optics, she looks like she's probably the most likely leader, and she's also one of the few Q1 squares in here. So a horse that has that tactical speed, can get out, sort of create her own trip and close. It's one of those sort of well-meant looking horses that I tend to flag. It's a horse that shipped from Gulfstream, goes to California. One of the leading jocks at the meet hops up for effectively no name connections. I would think all systems are go here. And I think that would, Cheermeister, the 6 would be my top pick here. The other horse I do want is obviously the favorite, Laura's Light. I mean, she makes a lot of sense here. She likes to get her picture taken, good connections all the way around. Abel Cedillo is a great jock. Peter Miller obviously wins a lot of these. She would make a lot of sense. It wouldn't surprise me. I understand Caleb wanting to get spready here. I would almost want to be contrarian and almost want to go through just those 2. I think those are the 2 that really jumped off the page at me. Again, I don't play a lot of Del Mar. I don't know how I would structure the sequences. I haven't looked it through, but those were the 2 that I thought were the most likely.
Question, Caleb. I always mix these 2 guys together. Is Doug O'Neill? Doug O'Neill is the turf sprint guy, right?
It's Peter Miller.
Peter Miller's a turf sprint guy. So what the hell is Doug O'Neill known for?
O'Neill does okay. He gets a lot of Redham Racing homebred Square Eddie horses that do pretty well turf sprinting.
He gets also a lot of classic distance horses as well.
Who's the guy with the little soul patch thing here?
That's Peter Miller.
That's Peter Miller. God damn it, I thought that was Doug O'Neill.
Yeah, Peter Miller is like a West Coast Jason Service. I mean, and I mean that in every applicable way.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'm tossing. I'm tossing 4 left. I thought I got the wrong guy. I think I still like 4 left. I'm pretty much.
O'Neill has his own rap sheet, but Peter Miller he's something else.
Well, I mean, Doug O'Neill shipped a bunch of guys, ships a bunch of horses over to Dubai, right, and the UAE.
Doug O'Neill, he's got a whole squad this year. He's got a ton of them there.
So there's a couple of horses here that I'm interested in. You guys talked about most of them. I probably there's no way this horse is going to win now because I also really like the 6 here. So that horse is done. Please do not bet the 6. You guys are just wasting money if you do. The one horse that you guys didn't really talk about that I'm pretty interested in is going to be the one here. She's So Special. Peter Miller's stretching his horse out. It seems to have been a kind of a turf sprint specialist, but not really a front runner. It is kind of coming off of it a little bit. So I think that this horse is going to be, on the stretch out will probably be forwardly placed, but I don't think is going to be, as close as Cheermeister. And I've watched a bit of Del Mar, and I haven't seen too many horses just come from the clouds on the turf races yet. So I think I'm going to want to take someone that's forwardly placed. So I think I'm going to try a little bit here with the one. She's So Special. Flavian Pratt on the turf is very good, especially on the West Coast. Not so good, I don't think, when he leaves the West Coast. But I'm definitely interested in some of the one here. The two. Why does the two sound familiar? Is that another My Racehorse horse? Lazy Daisy. Doesn't
say that it is. So
doesn't
I'm not
Amazon
sure.
have a piece of this horse? I think that's what happened. I don't like this horse. This horse looks like trash, but the name reminded me. Obviously Laura's Light. I actually didn't know that. I don't have the morning lines. Laura's Light looked good to me. I didn't think that she was going to be the favorite. I thought the one was. What's the one at then?
5-1.
Yeah.
Your one should be $1 million to 1. If you look back at every time they've tried to stretch this horse out and how she's done, what's different this
Good.
time?
I would love $1 million to 1 on that horse. I would bet that.
Pedigree makes sense for the stretch out on the one, but every time they've tried it hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked. If you're betting this horse at less than 20 or 25 to 1, you're insane.
Dennis Celery. All it takes is one, baby. It's all it takes is one. Yeah, we already talked about the 6 here. One of my favorite California bred horses is in this race, and that's the 9 Warren Showtime. I think that the waters might be a little too deep. Has mostly done her damage in the state bred ranks. Has won a mile on the turf in state bred, I believe, twice. So can get the distance, can run on turf. I don't think she's as good as like the. I don't think she's as good as even the 1 or the 6 or the favorite here, the 3. But I'm a little interested in some Warren Showtime. I'm guessing that Warren Showtime will probably be shorter than them, probably in that mid-range price, probably like that 5 to 6 to 1. But
7 to 2 on the morning line, which I thought was too short.
Oof. I like the horse.
6 to 1, I get it. 7 to 2 is
I like the horse. I just the horse wins at a very high rate, so I could see people betting this horse. I actually really like George Velez on turf. I know he's only at 10%, but I think he's figured it out the past couple months, because I feel like at least like the past like 2 or 3 months he's got to be winning at least like 15 or 20% on the turf. I think he's doing a lot better, but those are kind of the horses that interest me there a little bit. The 9 I thought was going to be a sneaky play, but no one's getting fooled at 7 to 2. So I'll probably be closer to just 1, 3, and 6 there.
I don't think the morning lines are great in this race. Like, I thought the 4 horse is a horse who's going to take money. They have him 15 to 1. Have her 15 to 1 in the morning line. I think she'll take more money than that. If nothing else, then it's Mike Smith, and the horse is coming from overseas, has a work on the turf. And I kind of like the 15 to 1. I like the horse, but I think you probably get more like 8 to 1. So I do think you'll get better than 7 to 2 on Warren Showtime. But yeah, I guess we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah, I would probably want something like 8 or 9 to 1 on Warren Showtime, I think, if I was going to look that way, because at least on Briz, like I've kind of shifted over to kind of starting looking at Briz and then looking at some time form figs and kind of overlapping those two. I haven't had a chance to look at time form on this yet, but I'm kind of curious to see how close the figs are on Warren Showtime to the rest of the field, because looks a little bit a little soft. Doesn't look nearly at the level at the like horses like the 3 and the 5 are at here. So why don't we move on to the last one, the San Diego, 1 mile and 16th on the dirt here, for older horses. Well, technically it's 3-year-olds and up, but there's no 3-year-olds in here. Yeah, this is the return of maximum security. And who's his trainer? Bob Baffert?
Yeah, that guy.
Dude, I'm extremely confused as to how Abel Cedillo got this mount and how Mike Smith is on Axeman. What in the hell?
What did Mike Smith do wrong?
McKinsey, he went to the whip. He went to the whip. God damn it.
It is kind of just wild. Like no Drayden, no Mike, like Abel Cedillo.
Don't get me wrong though. I mean, Abel Cedillo at Santa Anita was just like lights out. So this isn't really a dig against Abel Cedillo. It's just like if you look at it'd be like Pletcher getting like some monster horse and just like being like, hey Kendrick, why don't you hop on, and like John Velasquez, hey, let's have you get on, insert shitty Todd Pletcher horse here. I'm sure there's millions of them. I can't think of any right now. But yeah, this is wild. I didn't even know Axeman was still running. But yeah, this is the normally extremely strong West Coast dirt older horse division. The likes of higher power, mid-court, and combatant.
So Caleb shit all over my Saratoga racing. This race is bullshit. This race is terrible. Like I'm sitting here capping this and going, oh, I got to use combatant. Wait a second. I'm using combatant? Really?
Hey, there's 6 horses and they're all by 6 different owners, which is more than you can say for that Saratoga race.
I'm not touching combatant unless Rosario's aboard. So
I'm also not touching combatant, but regardless.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously goes through maximum security, and I don't see how maximum security loses this. I think maximum security could bounce from his bold ruler, which is probably his weakest race last year. Could probably, well, besides the one he lost, obviously, at Monmouth, the Pegasus. But all of that, I mean, he was semi game. It was just stumbled to start and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think maximum security. If maximum security finishes the race, he finishes first. I have, even with all of the nonsense. I mean, it looks like he's been working like an absolute monster. Did 6 furlongs in 1:11. Was it last week? So yeah, this horse is ready to go.
59-3. He was fourth of 88 at Del Mar, running a 59-3 for 5 furlongs. That's impressive for a distance, a classic distance horse who can get a classic distance. That's impressive.
So I have a hard time getting around this horse. What do you think here, Caleb?
It's probably a good time to chime in and say that I'm not betting maximum security in this race.
Oh, yeah, it's a perfect time.
If there's ever a time you're going to beat this horse, it's here. It's after the Saudi Arabia trip. It's on the barn switch, off the service juice to a new trainer who may or may not have different juice. I watched the replay of the workout from that July 18th Del Mar Bullet, and you can pull it up on xbtv.com. And it was not impressive. Like this horse, he broke about a length off of a horse called Leading Score. I don't know who that is, which is already not a great sign. And he was asked pretty hard into the turn to make up ground. I mean, the rider threw about 2 or 3 crosses. Eventually, did make up ground, and then he ended up galloping out ahead as the other one was pulled up. But it was not the kind of work that you really want to see from a Baffert horse, much less an even money horse in a first start after leaving a juicer's barn. So, like, for me, I don't want to read too much into a workout. Maximum Security has probably never worked out hard a day in his life in the surface barn. So with those 1.5 mile gallops. But like you said, Cedillo gets up. He's a good jock, but he's not a top jockey. And it's puzzling that he's the one that gets the mount here. I know Saez can't ship in, but it still surprises me that Drayden or Mike Smith or somebody else, even Flavian, doesn't get offered the mount. So the horse I actually ended up on in light of that was Midcourt. The Maximum Security might win this race, but I think it would be more to a testament of how bad the race is, more so than how good he is. Higher Power sucks. Like I'm ever since the Pacific Classic, he's been overbet, and he's just not good. Like Axeman, like I don't know. Like I would use Axeman before a few others in here, honestly. Sharp Samurai is a turf horse. Combatant is Combatant. So that doesn't really leave you with many options. But I think Midcourt's the one. He's 2 for 2 over Del Mar. The horse likes to win. I think they tried to stretch him out and make him one of the top classic distance dirt horses in the older male division in his last 2 starts. And I just don't think he wants to go this far. His pedigree's kind of iffy. It definitely gets a mile to a mile and an eighth, but at a mile and a quarter, it gets a little murky. And I just don't think this is where I don't think he ever wanted to go a mile and a quarter. So in his last race, you can kind of draw a line through it. They took the blinkers off, and he was kind of distracted at the break. He hopped at the start. Never really got into his game that day and ended up just getting eased on the lane. If you go back to his races that are more in the mile to a mile and an eighth range, he's never run a poor race ever since coming back off the long layoff. So I think the blinkers going back on here is going to keep him a little bit sharper, should keep him a little more involved early. So is he good enough to beat the service version of Maximum Security? Like, no, he's probably not. But with the questions surrounding Max Security, like, is he the next likeliest winner in this field? I think that he is. So I'll be using him a lot. I haven't looked at the whole card yet, so it's probably silly to say that I won't use Max Security on any tickets and pick fives or whatever. But from like a daily double or like win bet perspective or anything, like I'm definitely not interested in Max Security in this race.
Yeah, I tend to very much agree with Caleb here. I'm a massive Maximum Security fan, but if you want to get around him, here's your chance right here. Switching barns, the potential Saudi bounce. I saw that work as well. It was not impressive. There's a million question marks here, and if you're ever going to find a time to get around him, here's the time where you have that chance. My concern here is there's no one else I want to get around him with. I really wish somebody who was a decent horse that I could trust drew in here. I guess I end up on Midcourt sort of by default, just because he sort of likes Del Mar. He's doing 2 for 2 across the surface. And I feel like I can trust him a bit more. I made the joke about Combatant. I want no part of him here. Combatant is the worst horse ever. Sharp Samurai is a turf horse. Axeman, Mike Smith ends up there. Maybe you use a little Axeman. And, I know Josh likes to talk about sort of up and down styled horses. Higher Power sort of screams that to me here, where his last out was probably that up. This is probably down. So I'm sort of in that boat where it's like, okay, I want to beat Maximum Security in the worst possible way here. I just don't have a horse to do it with. And I guess I end up on Midcourt, and I guess maybe I'm okay with that. But I think how I might play it is if I'm capping this, I don't know if I can toss Max Security because he's obviously the most likely winner. Maybe I make him a B and I use somebody like a Midcourt as an A. I don't really like anyone else in this race. And maybe, okay, if Max Security wins, it doesn't kill me as long as I don't get a bunch of bombs. But I very much agree with Caleb. If you're going to want to beat him, here's where you beat him. And I just wish there was a couple of better horses to beat him with.
You guys are crazy for even trying to want to bet Midcourt.
Is it because you think Max Security can't lose, or you just don't think Midcourt can win?
I mean, Midcourt might finish his race last. Like I freaking hate Midcourt. Midcourt sucks. I would much rather want to use Higher Power here than I would want Midcourt. Even on the every other, I think I would rather Higher Power. I don't know. I mean, this is the time you beat Maximum Security, but I remember the last time I thought, hey, this is when I'm going to try and beat a champion horse off a long layoff with all these questions, and I fucking end up betting Homerique. All right, no one bets Homerique. All right, fucking Homerique.
No, Homer's great. Come on now.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I kind of agree with you though. Like, this would be the time to try and beat the horse. It's just like, if this was a classic distance race, then I would be interested in betting Combatant. But I'm not going to bet Combatant at a mile in the 16th. Combatant is not going to do anything. Like, Combatant probably needs to start running those. Probably need to start running those. What is it? Those marathon distance races with the.
Scat Daddy, he can't get it marathon. So
You don't think so? I don't know.
I don't think he can get it. I just don't think he'd get the distance.
I don't know. I mean, Combatant, his only like decent races have been a mile and a quarter. So I don't want any piece of Combatant. Like you guys have already said, Sharp Samurai. I mean, that's turf through and through. I can't bet Axeman again. Like, I just like cannot spend money on this horse. Even with it looks like some decent works leading up. I mean, like, if I was looking for an alternative, I think higher powers who I end up with, and I just don't want to bet that horse either. I just don't want to bet any of these horses, like none of them.
So you're taking the horse that's 1 for 6 at the distance instead of the horse that is 1 for 2 at the distance and 2 for 2 off the track. I'm confused. What's the logic here?
I just don't. I hate this horse. Higher power sucks too. I hate both of them. I don't want to bet either of them. All right, I'm just gonna stick with maximum security.
Josh,
Probable.
What's up?
Improbable was in this race. Do you take him over max security?
Oh, yeah, probably. I think so. Because Improbable's actually in form right now. I think in 2 months at the Breeders' Cup Classic, if they're dumb enough to try and run Improbable in that against maximum security, then yeah, absolutely not. But now, yeah.
I really wish there was an actual purse behind this race because it's a G2, but it's only 150,000. It's not a big money G2. Enough money that Tom's Natal would have shipped out here because I would have, somebody who's an actual classy horse who can get the distance and hit some square between the eyes. Somebody like that who you go, I wish there's a little purse here to draw some classy horses, not a bunch of California horses.
Dude, even like a By My Standards or a Warrior's Charge, I think would make things interesting. Mr. Freeze, I think Mr. Freeze would be interesting in here. Like
as well.
Like if those horses were in here, okay, we can start having that discussion about like horses that have a chance to win. But like if you're putting a gun to my head and you're like higher power or mid court, I'm like, all right, just fucking pull the trigger at that point. Like I'd rather not pick either of those. Yeah, I mean, like really for me, it's just elimination. Like, I mean, I guess you use them equally. I don't fucking know. I hate both of them.
I will say this is kind of the, are you legit or not race for me for midcourt. Like I was kind of skeptical when the horse came back off the huge layoff. Horse caught really good, like ran some big figures, beating questionable fields, but nevertheless big numbers. And then kind of stepped up to grade 1 company and didn't get the job done twice in a row. My opinion is the distance was too far, and I think that midcourt has a real good shot to get it done on the cutback here. If he runs a decent second to max, I might still hold that opinion. But if he runs up the track and loses to some shitter like higher power, then it might be time to close the book.
Was midcourt the one that was like the hey, this is the West Coast handicap horse, or was that higher power? It was higher power, right? Because who was the horse that Rosario was aboard all the time? It was a West Coast horse. Maybe it's neither of these horses. Who am I thinking of?
Was it Gift Box?
Gift Box. Oh, what the fuck happened to that horse? Gift Box.
I don't know.
Jesus
he was
Christ.
Like, for like a summer, and then he kind of disappeared.
Gift Box. Jesus, man. I'm just like Mucho Gusto I would take in this fucking race. Come on.
Red Warrior's a good question. Any thoughts as to why they put Max here instead of the Whitney? Just because
Bob. I mean, Bob. I think Bob, like, if if there's if any of that stuff was to be believed, or I mean it is to be believed, but all like the just nonsense that was going on with max security, I mean like I don't think you ship that horse. Like I mean you probably got to like I don't know if like they had to detox it and all that stuff. Like if Bob's based off the West Coast, I don't think there's any point to ship.
Well,
ship
is
that
McKenzie
horse.
this year?
Have they? When is the Whitney next week or in 2 weeks?
I'd have to check.
Everything's all messed up this year. I know.
Yeah,
so
everything's screwed up this year.
Either way, if McKenzie was pointing to the Whitney, I could see why, or even improbable. Like if Baffert already has one, I could see why you might not want to ship a horse that was coming back from Saudi Arabia, went to Monmouth or wherever, then shipped across the country to California, and then I could see why. Racing your backyard if you can, get a start under his belt. He's planning out a 4-year-old campaign. He's not just looking at the next race, but
I have a really hard time getting around maximum security, even in like I think like even his B effort should win this, maybe by open length.
His sort of C effort should probably win this, but there's so many sort of asterisks or check marks or weird things here. There's 12 layers of things that scare me. I don't know if I trust any Bob Baffert, quite honestly, at the moment. There's the fact that he's got the Saudi bounce in there. There's the fact that he's coming out of the service bar, and there's just so many things. I've always historically really been a massive fan of the horse. I really liked him. He's been great to me financially, but just it's a little scary here, and I hate to get against him, but man, this spot feels weird. It feels like, why is he here? It's just the sort of handicapper spidey senses are tingling here, and this just feels off.
Dennis is asking if he thinks the deal keeps this mount. Absolutely not. Although I don't know. I mean, does Bob ever use Saez? I don't think Saez has ever ridden for Bob, right?
I don't think he ever has. And the thing is, if Cedillo wins this and looks okay, do you take the winning jock off and put your homeboy on? I don't know if you do.
You know what? Actually, I think I know why Mike Smith's not aboard here. Because I'm fucking Bob Baffert is an idiot and is probably going to keep Mike Smith on McKenzie. And is probably just assuming that he's not gonna want to make Mike make the decision, so he's gonna put Cedillo on here.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Josh.
Although I think that Mike Smith probably fits this horse better, to be honest. But
dude, I really love the horse, and I really would hate Mike Smith to be on him. So a jock I really don't know that well, who's some weird West Coast jock I don't really ever handicap. I kind of like that. It's okay. It's sort of like a Saez. It's like, he says his career revolves around, well, I don't say revolves around, but I think Max Security brought Saez into the limelight. Maybe Cedillo does. Maybe it does it for Cedillo too. That'd be cool.
Although sorry, I dropped something. I think, to be honest with you, the horse I think that would fit, or the rider I think that would fit McKenzie the best is Rosario. I don't know why. Has Rosario ridden McKenzie at all? No, because
Rosario come out in the Breeders' Cup. I'm pretty sure he did.
What, last year?
Yeah, I thought Rosario tried to go up the fence and then got shut off, had to loop wide, and then ended up getting.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like Rosario. That sounds
peak Rosario right there.
It doesn't matter. He was never beating Vino Rosso, but regardless.
No, but like if there's one jock who you could tell, hey, just keep the put the whip away, like that's gonna be Rosario. So, let's see what else we got here in chat. Road Warrior pretty much asking about why they didn't try Maximum Security to Whitney. I just don't think they want to ship this horse right now. Apparently, the dugout is flooding in Washington. That's no good.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. Some of this is not the saltiest field. Is Baffert just trying to figure out what he has here? Maybe he's keeping the horse, close to home. Figure out what he has. It's a boutique meet. He can kind of run here and then sort of reevaluate after what he's got. Because you can make an argument that do you point Max Security towards the dirt mile, or do you point the horse towards the Classic? Obviously, the money's in the Classic, breeding rights and everything else, but being a Baffert, are you still playing that game of him trying to figure out where he fits? Maybe.
Yeah, like if you know he can get the distance, I think you point him to the Classic. That's always the question. But yeah, we'll see. Like I think you're right. He probably is trying to see what he has here, and I don't know if it's going to be the same horse. Like, I guess we'll find out.
It's my concern as well.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely should have. They should point this horse to the Classic, I think, as far as like distance is concerned. And Improbable should get wheeled back to the dirt mile. But after he won the fucking Gold Cup, they're probably going to try and run him in the Classic now too. We're going to have 3 Bafferts in the Classic because he's going to try running McKenzie again too. In that,
you can make a pretty good argument that Maximum Security has tried a Classic distance once. It was on a sloppy track and versus shit field. And that was in the Derby. So does he really want to go this far? He may just be a better miler. His pedigree top and the bottom says miler. And obviously he's a freak talent. And, when you're a freakish talent, you sort of throw away the real rule book there. But does he really want a mile? Or does he really want a Classic distance? Yeah.
Yeah, I think just knowing Baffert, if Baffert's going to point Improbable to the Classic, I think he'll be pointing to the Classic. Whether it's the best spot for him or not is almost beside the point. I think that's where he goes. But I see what you're saying.
And agreed. It's Baffert. Of course he's going to. Baffert would love to say, hey, there's 10 horses in the Classic and, 8 of them are mine. Like that's how he rolls. So.
It's a shame there's no BC mile in the 16th because then he'd have a perfect spot to send McKenzie.
Well, Breeders' Cup is at Keeneland this year.
Oh, it's a 2-turn mile, right?
Turn mile, yeah.
So there's your McKenzie race right there because, yeah.
A horse like McKenzie or Authentic, a lot of those horses, I think Vekoma, I think they all make sense.
So McKenzie is the setup horse for Maximum Security. He basically is going to pull a Chad Brown then, right?
He might.
No, because I think Max Security is faster earlier and later than McKenzie is. So, but all right. Well, we talked that week race into death. What are you guys looking at for tomorrow? You guys you got any spots that you're looking at in particular? Anything pop out at you tomorrow?
Yeah, I was talking the early Saratoga sequence in the Saratoga Daily with Chase. Really like the early Saratoga tomorrow. I think there's a couple of singles. Chase is trying to get around a couple of them, which I massively respect. Listen to the stream, listen to us talk that through. But I think the early sort of pick 4 or pick 5 is super slammable at Saratoga tomorrow. And a fun little sequence. And then obviously I'll be into the Saturday card. I really need to sit down tomorrow morning. I'll really have a couple hours where I can work through it and get a good handle on this Saturday card.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much, so I really can't say exactly what I'll be playing. I know that we do have the Discord NHC feeder tomorrow, so I looked at the race selection.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about, I think, maybe 4 or 5 Saratoga races, maybe 2 Del Mar races, and then maybe 2 Laurel races, I think. So I'm probably going to, spend a decent amount of time looking at some of that. I hate Laurel, but it's only 2 races, so I guess, or 3 races, I guess, so I can suffer through it. So I'll look through that. I'll glance through Saratoga and Del Mar as well. I'll probably be around early part of the day and then probably out later with some stuff going on. So that kind of predisposes me to look at Saratoga so I can actually watch the races. But we'll just see. If Saratoga card doesn't do anything for me, I might look at Del Mar. And either way, I'll be doing the tournament.
Yeah, I'll be playing the tournament tomorrow, and then I'll probably look at Saratoga, but probably most of my plays going to go through Arlington. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna probably in a little bit, this tonight or tomorrow morning. I'll have a podcast up, a solo podcast, and I'm gonna talk a little Arlington. Not so much. Well, I'll look at Saturday's card a little bit, but just talk a little bit more, just betting it in general. It's a fun track, especially so I found out today through I don't know if they shared it got through me somehow. I think it might have been a DRF article or something. Because they're not running those big turf stakes races, they're going to run on the turf more. So the whole reason that they don't use the turf that much at Arlington is because they want to keep it pristine for Arlington Million Day. So now that there's no Arlington Million Day, they're like running like 5 races on the turf. They have the turf split into two different tracks. So they have an inner and the outer, and yeah, they ran 5 out of 8 races today on the turf. So it was nice. The turf was playing a little bit friendly to speed, and the all weather was playing similar to the Saratoga dirt. It was like EPP type horses were winning. So we'll see if that holds up, but it's a fun little meet to bet.
I would say Arlington actually looks really interesting. They've changed it this year where there's a 20-cent pick six, and it is not a jackpot. And Josh mentioned that earlier, and that all of a sudden becomes super interesting. It's very approachable for a smaller budget player, some of the smaller bankroll who wants to play those big payout, big sort of structures that have those big balloon payouts. But it's not a jackpot, so you're not getting ripped on the takeout. It's a 15% takeout. That's actually really player friendly and really fun horizontally. That's a pretty cool wager.
They also added a pick 7 to the first race, 20 cent, and it's a non-jackpot. And I think today it might have paid out to 5 of 7 today. So...
it is a real pick 7 then. I was wondering if it was like a pick place 7.
No, I think it's a straight pick 7 and 15% takeout, 20 cent bet.
I wish they didn't overlap with Saratoga because I'd be all about that 20 cent pick 6.
That's fun. Yeah,
good on them. That's I like to see. Anytime you're putting out new wagers, you're lowering takeout and not doing jackpot bullshit, like I support that.
Yeah, and also when you're making it very player friendly by making it 15% takeout, that's like a Naira. Naira has those 15% takeout pick 5s, very player friendly. A pick 6 that's that way, that's awesome. At 20-cent base bet, again, you could play a $10 or $12 ticket and potentially win $5,000 or something. That's a really great ROI and a really fun wager to chase.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us. You can follow our stuff on Twitter, obviously at wrong_lead. We're on Discord. We did get a new shirt out there. So it's a nice one-time ticket. I will probably be placing an order this weekend, so hopefully by next stream, or not next stream, the stream after, I'll have a sample of that. So and then as usual, you can find our AM wager in the description, AM wager link. Sign up for that, you get the normal bonus, and it just helps us out a little bit. Mark's got some content out there about using AM wager. And then don't forget, we also have our Saratoga Daily stuff going up. So, yeah, for Chase, who wasn't able to make it tonight, but you can catch him on Saratoga Daily today. Mark, Caleb, I'm Josh. We'll catch you guys later.